Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Big roster drama going down in the Americas last night, certainly from the Brazilian side, where QCK, it seems, gone from the Loud roster. Saadhak responding and says that he arguably failed him as a leader of that team, and many big changes potentially still on the horizon for that Loud roster, especially with pANcada now linked to a return to Loud after the recent drama with Furia. Very much interested your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new, as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. The guys are arriving out there in Shanghai. Boostio says Tokyo bounds, but he was getting reminded in the replies, hey, like, you know, we ain't going to Tokyo, buddy. I know that obviously that was where Masters was last year, but this time it's in Shanghai, and he was like, no, Tokyo bounds. So I don't really know whether they're like flying via Tokyo or something, or whether he's just saying this is a joke, but whatever. They are going to be in Shanghai, assuming they don't turn up to the wrong event somehow, and even as Com says, time for a long flight to China. See you guys soon. So yeah, out they go. Lev, Boostio, obviously from 100 Thieves, they will be the favourites from that region. Of course, Gen.G Fishy there as well with the Heretics guys. There was also this that was quickly worthy of note. The Patty Tech will be there for Heretics, right? We know that, unfortunately, Miniboo is not going to be able to play, and the general feeling is that, you know, he's a massively important part of that Heretics roster's success so far this season. Miniboo, he is stepping away for this event because of, you know, burnout and stress and these other factors. Playing Valorant as they do alongside his full-time studies hasn't been easy, but it is also not great for Heretics, right? Patty Tech will be back in. They've got experience there. I still think they'll be good, Heretics. They probably just won't be quite good enough to do the damage they might have hoped to do otherwise, but they're still a team that is a potential threat and is worth looking at. But I think that this makes, let's say, of your Paper Rex, for example, you're probably feeling a little bit more comfortable now, or Gen.G even, because those are probably the big favourites for the tournament. Paper Rex especially, Gen.G aren't far behind, and 100T have to be up there, right? Just because the Americas as a region has now in some ways dominated Valorant for quite some time. It's been a feeling for, you know, even the last year and a bit, that if you are the best team in the Americas, you are arguably the best team in the world. Now, that wasn't the case when Fnatic were dominating at the start of 2023, but that became the case as the season went on. I think even Boostio made that. Was it Boostio? Maybe somebody on that EG team last season made the point that effectively, if you win in the Americas, you should be winning internationally, because that's the strength of the region. Now, I'm not sure that's so true right now and anymore, but 100T may feel that way when it comes down to their matches this tournament, and of course they get the bye straight to the playoffs because they were the #1 seed from their region. And if they get the good luck in the luck of the draw on drawing the straws effectively to decide who gets to choose first who their opponents are in the playoffs, then they could even have a further advantage. This, by the way, is the trophy. It's a pretty fire trophy, I'm not going to lie. It is quite clearly ISO inspired, which is, you know, like the ISO Ultimate and all this, which is, I wouldn't say surprising, because it's kind of cool, but it's the fact that ISO is the only agent never to have been played in the VCT. I'm pretty sure every other agent, obviously even Clove recently, they've been played at some point in a VCT match somewhere. ISO, I don't believe, has ever had an official outing. Maybe once, but I don't even know if there's an example of ISO getting an official outing in pro play in any of the regions. So interesting that they try to promote ISO, I guess, as a character, although nobody actually wants to use him right now. But let's talk about some of this Rostermania stuff. Quickly on DSG, they, of course, if you guys aren't aware now, last year they were in North American Challenges, and it wasn't the best, if you guys aren't aware with that story. And you know, the fallout from that, the Yay, the Steal, the gangster-related drama continues to this day, as we've seen over the last few weeks or so. But now DSG are effectively the academy system for Bleed Esports, operating out there in the Pacific region. But they've made an interesting roster change lately, of course, because we know that Bleed are switching some things up. So yeah, Juicy and Wayne, they're going to be competing alongside Grumble, Vera, and Styron. I think basically they've just signed some of the better players for the region and brought them into their roster, because they've had a bit of an up and down run so far here in Singapore, and those are the respective players. So interesting to see that DSG making roster changes. Hopefully it works out for them, right? Because, you know, it's been a difficult time, shall we say, for Toast over the last year or so here as a Valorant owner. This another big update though, as Eric Doombro says of Na'Vi, as of today I am no longer the head coach of Na'Vi. So basically he's been fired, at least that's how it reads to me, right? Because he says it was a good journey, I'm proud of what we achieved during our time as a team, strategy, meta, wins, losses, etc. Don't regret a single thing, didn't reach the results we were looking for, I'm responsible, but I think the boys are in a good enough spot that they can still have great success, right? Of course, since the FPX days as well. So yeah, wishing him the best going forward, my understanding was he seemed like a pretty solid coach to me, but I guess if results don't go their way, someone's got to go, someone's got to be the fall guy, and they were very close, Na'Vi, to making it, but just the way the format worked, they started in the first rounds, they ended up losing to Heretics, and that was all they could do in the play-ins, right, because they played that one game, elimination knockout match, they lost, and therefore it was done, and they couldn't make it to Masters Shanghai as a result, so they're going to make moves. Obviously in the replies we also get Chet here as well, and the interesting thing is about Chet is that he is getting some pretty crazy responses here in his replies. Some responses of course worse than others here. I mean, these ones are relatively tame compared to what he's been receiving elsewhere, but basically they were saying, you're next, hopefully. Glad these instigators aren't getting to you're next, bud. The fact that the last couple of years we tried overcooking, swapping roles and all this should have been you type thing. So I think it's probably expected replies really, but there are a lot of NRG fans that are frustrated with the outcomes of the games and are, putting some of the blame on Chet here for the decision making. Look, at the end of the day, some organizations have a different approach on this. Some orgs, they replace players and trust the coaching staff to figure it out. Some organizations think that, well, kind of like how maybe traditional sports are, when if the team is underperforming, the coach is at fault and they have to go first before other changes are made. And I feel like that's going to become more prevalent over the coming years than it is today. Maybe we're seeing something of that from Na'Vi here, but this was the big talking point of yesterday on the Loud, Quick, QCK scenario here with Loud, because there's been rumours over the last few days, and Saadhak said it himself, that there are changes coming, changes that he didn't necessarily expect. But of course, QCK comes in, he replaces Aspas, which is not something that is easy to do at the best of times, and he was up and down, nowhere near as consistent as Aspas, obviously. And it wasn't, he just wasn't performing well enough really in that particular role. And, we've seen this, of course, for a little bit of time now. And then he confirmed this yesterday on social media. Hello guys, how's it going? Today I come to announce that I'm open to negotiating with other organizations inside or outside of the franchise league, even organizations that want to set up new projects. I'm free from fines. I guess that means I'm free from a contract, like a buyout. So I guess he's an unrestricted free agent, able to go on a free. And I'd like to thank my former teammates, Loud, and even the fans who supported me so far. Thanks for the opportunity. So basically implies he's been dropped, right? Like his contract has been terminated and he is now open to other opportunities elsewhere. So this is a pretty damn big deal for Loud. Like, I'm not maybe massively surprised. What I was surprised about is the whole less story, which still seems to be raging on in the background, that potentially they're making a move for less, or he's gone for financial reasons, or whatever. There's been lots to talk about that, of course, recently. And Saadhak was on stream commenting on this as well, like he made the statement that he basically feels like he failed as a leader with Quick, like not integrating him as he might have hoped to, not getting him to the level that he wanted. Saadhak's kind of putting the blame on himself, which is, I think a thing that a leader will do. Like, Saadhak's one of the best in-game leaders, one of the best leaders that we've ever had in the Valorant world. Like, if not, some might argue the best. And I think this is kind of some of the humility that shows exactly why. But at the same time, the team wasn't performing. Saadhak knows that full well. They will need to make some serious changes, and this seemingly is one of them. The question is, what do you do? Because you've lost Aspas. You're now losing lots of your other stars. Aspas is gone. Sassy and pANcada were gone last year. Less might be gone. It's like you're losing all of your big players from Brazil to various other teams. How do you intend to compete and win championships when most of the top Brazilian talents are gone? So this is when Quell puts this on the timeline yesterday on the future of pANcada. And look, all I'm going to say is, I've been telling you guys this for a long time now, that when pANcada was contemplating the move to Furia, or potentially a move to MIBR, I was somewhat confused as to why, just because the Loud option was potentially going to be there. I was even saying this while Loud looked okay, but I was saying, look, if Loud don't perform here, if they don't make it to Shanghai, which of course they haven't in the end, they will have to consider some sort of a change, and now they are doing exactly that, and the option is there for pANcada, apparently. So we know that he was on the verge of signing for Furia twice now, and he had health issues both times that prevented him from doing so or whatever. But now apparently the player has been approached by other teams. So MIBR, Furia, and Loud. There is apparently negotiations taking place, and there are chances of him returning to the team where he won at the Champions event back in 2022. So apparently Loud said that they would prefer not to comment, or nothing to declare on the situation. But that is the discussion as of today, that pANcada, a return to Loud, is absolutely on the cards. And this makes a fair bit of sense, right? Like, Loud need some sort of superstar talent back in their roster. they cannot afford to keep going as they presently are. They've lost too many talents. And if less goes as well, you've got to figure out who's replacing Aspas. They did, but that didn't really work. So now they've got to do something else, and pANcada back as a controller would be fascinating for the team, or to basically run whatever role. They just need some talent back in that roster, and some Brazilian talent at that, and obviously pANcada makes a lot of sense. And I imagine that pANcada's agent or whatever, or maybe himself, he realized, all right, let me just not sign this Furia deal and see if a better option arises. Then again, the offer that Furia are putting together and like the team that they have actually looks reasonably competitive, and maybe even more competitive than what this Loud team is going to be doing, given the circumstances. But, I mean, look, they've got Saadhak there. There's trust, there's respect between those guys, and I'm not sure that's necessarily going to change. NRG, could they pick up the pieces here at all? Because that's been the rumor that less, or even potentially Saadhak, like that was the talk, right? That NRG might try and sign Saadhak as their in-game leader. And that, like, if I'm pANcada and Saadhak leaves for NRG Loud, do I join Loud at that point? I'm not sure I do. So there's lots of moving parts right now. Som was in the replies to this tweet as well. He says, can I see? And NRG are like, oh, this is a player room, not a streamer room. Just because there's been some speculation, isn't it, that, you know, Som could return here as a player to the roster. I wouldn't say it's absolutely impossible. I still think it's kind of unlikely, but I will say there's been some tweets over the last couple of days and some theories on what he's been playing in ranked and stuff that maybe imply it could be possible. But yeah, very much intrigued to your thoughts on that stuff in the comment section below. But hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.